Okay, we are here. It is a new, fresh season of Doctor Who, and I'm excited to be talking about the first episode, which, unlike last year's season premiere, was actually a really, really solid start. Space Babies was it wasn't horrible, but it was pretty much low tier. And I always forget that that's the actual start of the season proper. Like that it's not the Church on Ruby Road, which was incredible. Um, which is funny because if people are just jumping into the new season as it started, as it was advertising, the first episode they're getting is Space Babies. Anyway, enough talking about the mishaps of season one because we're on a new season now, and we started with the Robot Revolution, which I thought was a, you know, campy but incredibly solid, like classic, episode of Doctor Who. It was very fun. It did some, albeit very on the nose, social commentary. Visually fun sci-fi environment. It's just everything that's like classic of the show's formula. I don't think it did anything too groundbreaking or insane. It's not going to be like a forever treasured or remembered story, other than the fact that it introduced what is shaping to be a solid companion. I think it's pretty run of the mill, like solid story. That's not saying it's bad or anything. I think it's just good. It's good actually. I would say. I like how they're handling the mystery for this season because I was so worried it was going to be another case of who I see this face across time and space, what's the situation, which they've done so many times. Like at this point it's kind of Russell's forte. It was last season, it was Bad Wolf, it was it was Clara. It's happened so many times throughout the modern iteration of the show, and I'm sure it's happened in classic as well. If I'm not 100% sure, but I would imagine it's part of Doctor Who. It's like a staple trope, but I like how that's not the primary focus here because it seems like they kind of, it may come back, but it kind of like, oh, this is brushed under the rug. This, I just met one of your ancestors, or not ancestors, inverse of ancestors, descendants is the word, and it's kind of brushed under the rug and we're good, we're ready to move on. um so I like that, but I am interested to see what the mystery is. It's kind of like this weird, like, hodgepodge of, it's almost like taking little elements of all of the Russell T Davies mysteries and kind of combining them to where, missing planet, specific point of time, like having issues, weird, like, time rumblings, face, of course, across time and space. I like that they're like, it does seem like they're sort of like taking the like little highlights of all the different mysteries and kind of crowning them into one big broader mystery. And I do worry that they're getting a little too ambitious in scope, or Russell's getting too ambitious in scope for the scale of this mystery, because there's so many elements to it. And I worry, especially after last season where the mystery was handled terribly last season, to where the evidence it was taking was actively, like, disregarded slash retconned out. I'm worried that they'll do the same since there's such a sheer abundance, and you have the whole thing with Miss Flood, back too. So yeah, I'm interested to see where it goes, but I'm a little nervous after how season one's mystery was handled. Belinda, I like her character a lot. I feel like she's, very strong. She has a personality that's unique from the past few companions, I would say, in terms of, like, her intelligence and her self-sacrifice, is, like, and the fact that she's not, I think the key here was the fact that she was not willing to take any of the Doctor's bullshit that kind of enraptured a lot of different companions. Here, like, she was calling him out on his unethical bullshit, and it was really good to see that. It was a really good change of form to where it's like you're acting like you're this, like, good hero and you're so excited and you're having the blast, but, like, you're you're doing very unethical, like creepy things, like in the long run. And he is. And it points to this thing where it's almost like the Doctor had this energy of being desperate for this. It's almost like he's trying to cling on to these experiences and like project himself onto these mysteries. And I wonder if this season is going to be sort of meta commentary on these seasonal arc mysteries that have been like present throughout modern Who. I wonder if that's what they're trying to do here, where it's like he's so desperate for one of these and for like a companion that like fits that mold, that he's like, he's ignoring the needs of like what's really going on, and how unethical really at the core he's being in certain situations. And I really like that, and I hope they explore that more and it wasn't just kind of a one-off conversation. I think it's going to be explored more because they're doing this thing this season where she's a reluctant companion. I know this will probably shift and she'll eventually be like, I want to travel, but like I like the fact that they're coming back to like sort of the roots of the show, because I mean I've been watching the first Doctor's era now, and the show started as companions. The Doctor couldn't get the TARDIS back to the right time, and they were trapped essentially in bouncing from point to point in time and space. And was the original formula of the show, and I like that they're kind of doing that again. So I have a feeling that these conversations about the Doctor's ethicality will come up again, and be a prominent thread throughout this season. And I hope I'm not overreading into everything and it's not much simpler than I'm actually making it out to be. But yeah, I thought this episode was an incredibly solid start. I'm excited about the mysteries. I'm excited about the new character, Belinda. I think, she's really interesting, and I think it's going to be good to see her call out, the Doctor's bullshit. I think, I was saying in like my hopes for the season video that like I really hoped they would tone back this Doctor's like need to cry in every episode. And like, if you spend 6 months with someone and bond with them, and like and then you lose them, of course you're gonna cry. But like, it's just like it loses all its power and loses all its meaning when the Doctor cries in every episode. When it's like once a season or once every other season, it has so much power and potency to it. But like, it's just every single 15th Doctor story he's just crying now, and it's like, I don't know, it loses its power. I had no feeling for that in this episode. So originally when it happens, it's like, oh wow, that's strong. But now it's like, yeah, now every episode now. We'll see what happens next time. But I'm excited for the next one. The next one looks really fun. So yeah, that's kind of about it. I'm excited about this season. I think there's, a lot of exciting stuff they're setting up, and I really hope that the mysteries that are being set up aren't treated the way they were in season 1, where it sacrifices actual like cohesiveness for the sake of subversion, where it's like, well, I'm actively going to say all of the foreshadowing we did didn't not true. And it's like, that was a disaster. So I really hope that we get real solid answers, because you could still have solid answers while still being a subversion. And if this is a subversion of the Doctor's like need to have these seasonal arc mysteries, and maybe the whole Misfit thing's leading to the whole thing where they're at a TV show, that could very well be. I think that's also a possibility that a lot of people have been theorizing. That people were theorizing in season 1, so I think that could be the case. But I really hope that they stick the landing this season. That Russell gives us a good, awesome seasonal arc like he did in his original run of the show. One quick thing that I totally forgot to commentate on before I wrap this up is Russell really needs to get better at like the subtlety of his social commentary in this era. He was better at it during his original era, but like in this run, like the villain in this episode being named AI Generator, like really, Belinda calling the villain an incel, like really, like, you got to be a little more subtle than that, especially if you want this stuff to like last and be a little more timeless. So yeah, just thought I'd add that little 2 cents at the end here.